What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another preview stream, and it is a big one this weekend. It is Chelsea away, a ground which historically we don't do well in, especially in recent times. I mean, I only remember one win there, really, since I've been going to Spurs week in, week out, which has been a long time now, actually. And that game was, 3-1 at the Bridge, absolutely scintillating stuff. And it was, funnily enough, against Antonio Conte. Was it back in 2018 or 2017? I can't remember which one.
18.
Was it 18? Yeah. And let's get a repeat of that. And
wouldn't mind that.
Looking at it, I mean, this is the most confident I've gone into any game at Stamford Bridge probably in my lifetime, to be honest. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, the way we've, obviously the confidence around Tottenham at the moment, the way we are going under Antonio Conte and the business we've done, and the way we're playing leads to us going into this game high on confidence, especially with our record against the big teams. Unfortunately, though, our record against Arsenal, City, and Liverpool is strong. But we did lose to Chelsea 3 times in a month. So that obviously needs to be put right. That's still at the back of our mind, I think, when we're thinking about how good we were faring against the big teams. We still haven't, and until we've played Chelsea again since those moments in January, we still have at the back of my mind anyway that they were able to best us 3 times. Albeit we're a different team now. You look at the lineup when we last played them, it's a completely different lineup, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I think there's nothing to fear when we're going into this game on Sunday apart from ourselves. The only thing we have to fear is the fact that Spursiness, our record at Stamford Bridge, the fans... kind of pessimism going to this game only due to our past record, and that's understandable because we usually when we go to Stamford Bridge we get turned over and they usually step up their game. But right now, when you're looking at both teams in terms of their 11, there's not much difference, I think, in quality. When you look at the managers, we've got the superior manager. You look at the form, we're definitely in much better form than Chelsea. And I think we go into this game high on confidence, but it's very important not to be overconfident because we still need to treat this fixture with the respect that it deserves.
Are Spurs favourites for this game?
With the bookies,
I'm just trying to have a look quickly, but in your mind, are Spurs favourites for this game?
I would still say no. I would still say we're not favourites just yet. I don't think that as good as we're going, I still think that on paper, with Chelsea being at home, with some new signings they've made, I think they probably should be favourites. But I think if you drill down into maybe how both teams are playing and all that kind of stuff, you could definitely say Tottenham are in a better position. But in terms of this specific game, I reckon the bookies still have Chelsea as favourites.
And they do.
Yeah.
Chelsea are just over evens, which at home against us is actually quite big. But we're more likely to win than the draw, which is interesting.
Really? So it's not more... What's
just
our odds
about,
then?
though. Ours is about 2-1, just over 2-1, and the draw is slightly over that.
Okay.
So it's very interesting, but when you're taking past results into account, let's look at the last 5 games against Chelsea. It does not look, doesn't make good reading.
Wow.
We haven't scored a goal against them in our last 5 games, whether it be home or away. Look at that, the last 3 home games, 1-0, 3-0 and 1-0, all to Chelsea. And the last 2 games at Stamford Bridge, both 2-0 to Chelsea. So that does not make good reading. And it's time for a change in the form books, isn't it? Because I think that, like you said, when you're looking at the 2 teams, I think that even though the bookies do favour Chelsea, I think the average punter will probably slightly be favouring Tottenham, I think, in this one.
I think Tottenham definitely offer great value, with how we're playing at the moment. I think in terms of just structure of the team and how we're playing, we're in a better position than Chelsea. I feel like that we have a more cohesive unit right now than Chelsea. They've got a lot of change in their dressing room. They've had a lot of change right at the top as well. They're entering a new era. And that's going to come with it some teething problems, I think. I think the signings of Sterling, Koulibaly, Cucurella are obviously very good quality players, and I do question, especially for Koulibaly, I question whether because he's used to playing in a back four. Now he's playing in a back three. That's going to take some getting used to. Raheem Sterling was playing in a very well-oiled machine in Man City, where it was very intricate interplay, and he was very used to arriving at the back post, getting tap-ins and things like that. Now he's going to have to play a more central role, a more creative role, in my opinion, at Chelsea. He's going to have to adjust his position. That's going to take time to get used to. I just think right now, Spurs, that we're kind of just free flowing at the moment. The front three are playing absolutely brilliantly together. They're
Such great chemistry.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think our back line, I think our defense has been absolutely fantastic since Conte's taken over, and I think the defensive structure is going to be very hard for Chelsea to break down if they're dominating possession. I think we've shown against City and Liverpool our defenses can be watertight against the big teams. I think the midfielders are functioning really well. With Bentancur and Højbjerg. I think that they have that position down pat, and they have that structure there. So I think right now we have the upper hand, but it's whether we can take advantage of having the upper hand. For example, when we played Man United last season at Old Trafford, like, we had the upper hand tactically and structurally, but we just couldn't get over the line, and we ended up succumbing to a Ronaldo hat-trick. So it's where you have to be wary of those kind of things. So I do think right now, as a team, we're more together, we're playing better football, and you could arguably with the manager there, we're stronger, but it's whether we can take full advantage of that, because if we don't, Chelsea still have more than enough quality to punish us.
How much of a statement for you is it if we win today, if we win this weekend?
Especially with all the talk of our transfer business over the summer, and everyone saying what an opportunity this is under Conte, I think it'll be a massive statement to go away at Chelsea, a second game of the season, and win. I think that'll really throw down a gauntlet to say that we mean business this season. That's what I think, especially with Chelsea. I think for themselves will still be feeling that even though they accept that there's just been some upheaval, they have spent, I think they're the highest spenders this window so far with all the signings they've made. So I think there's still some expectation there. So I don't think they're coming into this, as much as maybe out from the outside we might be feeling we're in a strong position right now. I don't think they're going to be they're feeling an inferiority complex at Chelsea. So I think that they're going to believe they can win this game. So if we can go there and get all 3 points and really show that, even though we've struggled against Chelsea in the past, that we can go there and act like a big team and perform on the big stage, I think that sets us up massively for the season.
A lot has been made out of, we had the big debate with Louis about Conte, Tuchel and all that kind of stuff. Tuchel he's been talked about as one of the best managers in the game at the moment, on a par, not on a par, but on the same category as kind of Conte and Guardiola and Klopp and stuff like that. The jobs that he's done in the past hasn't really kind of related to that, in my opinion. I mean, he's won the Champions League with Chelsea, which is fair enough, absolutely unbelievable achievement. Got to the final with PSG. Hasn't really done much else in terms of winning as a manager. Is he overrated, in your opinion?
If people are putting him on the same level as Conte and Klopp and Guardiola, then yeah, he is overrated. Because I don't think
Louis
he's
had
on
to
that
really
level.
think about that, didn't he? Like he was like not really having it that we were putting Conte ahead of him.
Yeah, I think that he's overrating Tuchel. He thinks right now that he's on the same level as Conte. I think Conte, his level of consistent achievement puts him in a level above Tuchel. Yes, Tuchel won the Champions League with Chelsea and he got to the final of PSG, 2 very good achievements. He also won the league in PSG, won Liga, and in Germany with Dortmund, I think he might have won a cup, or I know he challenged for the league one year, but I don't think he's right now on the level of Antonio Conte and what he's achieved in the game so far, and I think tactically as well. I think Conte is much better in my opinion in the way they both use the back three. Tuchel, maybe you could argue, is a bit more flexible because he used the back four in previous clubs, and now he's using the back three with Chelsea due to their playing staff. Whereas Conte is very stringently always using the back three more often than not ever since he was managing Juventus. But I think Tuchel's a great manager, and the way he took that Chelsea side under Lampard when they were struggling in mid-table to a top four finish in Champions League has to be commended. But ultimately, they did spend 100 million on Lukaku to try and win the league. They had a squad, in my opinion, last season that should have done a lot better than it did, albeit there was extenuating circumstances. And I do think maybe in a few years' time, if he carries on winning things and consistently challenging, you could put him in the same bracket as the other managers. But I think right now it's just too early, and I think there's too many. He's faltered a few too many times in positions where he should be doing better, in my opinion, to say that he's on Conte's level. Although, you could say Conte, he's left other jobs and things have gone wrong for him. But I think the man management, how he handled the Lukaku situation, there has to be a mark against him. There is no reason why that couldn't have worked, other than how he played and how and his relationship with Lukaku was the only reason it didn't work. I think he's got players, for example. I think Reece James. I think he's got a supreme right wing back there, and he needs to be getting more out of him. I think the front three, he hasn't quite got the right balance there. I think sometimes they can be too uncreative, and I guess that's a charge. Sometimes you can level at Conte, but I think it's more you can level that at Tuchel, in my opinion. But I do think he's a very, very good coach, and I think he has, albeit over the big picture, done a decent job at Chelsea. But I don't think if you're putting him on the level of the other elite managers, you have to say he's overrated.
Yeah, and I think that when you're comparing them, you've got to look at what Tuchel's done domestically against what Conte has done domestically, because they're worlds apart in that opinion. Has Tuchel even won a league yet?
I think he must. Well, he won Liga, didn't he?
Well, at PSG, I mean, that's not very,
exactly.
what I mean, at PSG.
Poch won Liga, PSG.
Everyone wins Liga at PSG, let's be honest. But has he won a proper league yet? He hasn't. He didn't win the German league. He hasn't won the Premier League yet. So, I mean, what else could he have won? Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, he in Dortmund, I think he might have won a cup. He won he won a cup, yeah. He won a cup at Dortmund. He won 2 league titles in PSG. And a Champions League runner-up medal. Well, to be fair, no one else has reached a Champions League final with PSG, so that's got to go down for something. But you have to remember as well, that was in the season when there was only one leg ties.
COVID year,
yeah, COVID year. So is there an asterisk there for getting him to the final? Maybe, because every time PSG falter, it's always in the second leg, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get this debate between Conte and Tuchel. I don't think there is a debate there. There really isn't. Conte is well clear, in my opinion. And Tappin Tobes here in the comments got it spot on, and he says, facts, lads, read the Tuchel v Conte debate. If Tuchel wasn't their manager, they wouldn't be saying this. Conte has proven he's better manager throughout his career, and I think that's spot on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's been the case, whether Juventus, Chelsea, Inter Milan. He's always exceeded expectations, Antonio Conte. Whereas I don't think you can say the same for Tuchel. Whereas he exceeded expectations. I guess winning the Champions League, you'd argue that one. But Dortmund, winning a cup, fair enough. But he didn't. I don't think he. Look at Klopp. He won 2 league titles with Dortmund. Tuchel never ever got close to that. At PSG, he won 2 league titles and got to a Champions League final, but he couldn't go that final stretch. And at Chelsea, he's won the Champions League, but he's lost 3 finals at Chelsea. He lost the FA Cup final twice, and he's lost the League Cup final, hasn't he? So, Conte won an FA Cup. Yeah, in his own new season, he won and lost an FA Cup at Chelsea. So, and he won the league.
But
so
my point is, to be a great manager, you need to do things consistently. Winning one Champions League is not doing things consistently. Until he does things consistently, you can't put him on a pedestal up there with the greatest managers, with the Klopps, with the Guardiolas, with the Contes.
And I just think
can't do that.
I just think how the team plays as well. I think I don't think his teams play consistently as well as Conte's teams. I think the structure of Conte's teams are a lot more difficult to play against than Tuchel's teams, in my opinion. I think they're a lot better defensively, and I think going forward, there's better pan to play and structure in place under Conte than Tuchel provides. So, in my opinion, Conte is the superior manager, and I think his record speaks for itself.
Absolutely. If you go on to the opposition predicted lineup, we've got Mendy in goal, back three of Azpilicueta, Silva, Koulibaly, James and Chilwell as the wing backs, with Jorginho, Kante in the middle, Havertz, Mount and Sterling up top. In terms of defence against attack, I mean, their defence is obviously very solid, but how do you think our attack stacks up against them, and how do you think their attack stacks up against our defence, which is looking fairly solid at the moment?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because their defence obviously has got a combined age of nearly 100. Like they've got a really old defence. And then obviously you put the likes of the lightning pace of Son, you got the tricky play of Kulusevski, who are very comfortable in wide areas, and then obviously Harry Kane, who likes to drop deep and dictate the play. I think we can get some joy out of them. I know they're very experienced. They're a very experienced back three, and they're obviously going to have really good. They're going to be very well organised, and they're going to have really good communication, all that kind of stuff. They're going to know what they're doing defensively. But if we can stretch them with our wing-backs, if we can get the wrong side of them, wrong side of James and Chilwell, which is going to be difficult, I think we can stretch their back three. Whereas with our right now, we're very compact with how we defend. We've seen that with games against the top side so far. Sterling's obviously going to look to find the pockets running in behind. Mason Mount is going to be lurking in and around the edge of the penalty area. Havertz is going to be dropping deep, playing that false nine position, and also looking for first-time finishes with crosses. But I think our front three right now, first of all, personnel-wise, I much rather our front three, not only individually but as a collective, especially as well. That's for damn sure. I prefer our front three, and I think the way that we're playing at the moment, I think our front three are going to be much more of a threat to our backline, even though their backline individually, you could argue, is better than ours. I think as a collective right now, our unit is stronger. And so I think we're going to have much more joy shutting out Havertz, Sterling and Mount than they are shutting down Son, Kane and Kulusevski, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's a very important matchup when you're looking at the defence, because they're very solid in defence. I would say they're probably stronger than us in defence and maybe stronger than us in midfield right now. But I think going forward, we're just so much more stronger than them in that area of the pitch. And they don't really have that kind of chemistry up front yet, bringing in Sterling and what have you. They don't really have a proper number 9. If you bring up the ones to watch, you've got Sterling and Mount in there. Sterling obviously getting 17 goals and 9 assists in a City shirt last season, and Mount getting 11 goals and 10 assists obviously in a Chelsea shirt last season.
Yeah.
How many goals? How many was them against Norwich again?
Yeah, about 7. Honestly, I think it was like 7, because I think he scored 4 I think he scored a hat-trick. Or he scored 4 in one game, again, all against Norwich, and then he scored like 2 in the next game. So I really think it might have been 6 or 7 goals just against Norwich, which definitely tells you something. But look, I still think he's a phenomenal player, Mason Mount. I think he needs to be more consistent against other sides and not just kind of stat padding. Sometimes I feel like he does that, but I feel left foot, right foot creativity, long range shooting. I think his work rate as well. I think he's a great asset. I think he's so versatile as well. He's brilliant. I think he's probably a brilliant player to have, Mason Mount. So he's definitely one you have to be worried about, because he can come up with a moment of magic. Raheem Sterling, though. But
on Mason Mount, do you not feel like with the quality that he has got, he's got to be producing more in the final third? I mean,
in terms of 11 goals and 10 assists, those numbers alone, without any further context, that's pretty good for an attacking midfielder. I don't think if you're getting that on a consistent basis, that's pretty high productivity. But drilling down into the numbers, that's where you're like, he actually should be doing better, because I do think he's not really consistent enough over a number. It's like Ronaldo. I know, like, in a different way, but Ronaldo last season got 18 Premier League goals, but a lot of them was like a hat-trick here, a hat-trick there, Like he only scored, for example, in like 7 or 8 games. And then all of a sudden in like 30 games he's not doing as much. I think it's very similar for Mount. I think it's 11 goals and 10 assists, which is a lot. Those come in like only a few games. They don't come in that many games, and so he's got to be doing in general, which actually leaves a lot of opportunity because it means he could really explode in other games next season. But yeah, I think he should be doing more. Yeah, he got 3 goals and 1 assist in one game against Norwich, and then another game against Norwich he got 1 goal, 1 assist. So of those 11 goals and 10 assists, 4 goals and 2, so 6 of those came against Norwich. So that's quite a big portion of them.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be doing more in general, but I think he has the ability to do that. I think he's a quality player, Mason Mount.
I agree.
I really
completely
believe
agree. I mean, I prefer him more centrally, maybe when they put him out on the wide areas. I think he can definitely produce more. In terms of Raheem Sterling, I got a feeling he's just not going to fit in there as much as he did at maybe a Man City.
I think he will. I don't. Yeah, I think he's a better. I think Guardiola did a fantastic job with him. Obviously, with tactically how he used Raheem Sterling as that kind of poacher, and how the volume of chances he was getting at Man City. I think it was a phenomenal job by Guardiola, and I think he improved him massively under his stewardship. And I think he's become a very good player since Man City. So I do think he's going to do a good job at Chelsea. I just don't think he's going to be as effective. For example, if he was getting between 15 and 20 goals at City, I think he's going to now be getting probably between 10 and 15 goals at Chelsea. So there's going to be, I think, a drop-off in his output, because I don't see him getting the level of service at Chelsea compared to like the premium 5-star service he was getting at City. He's now getting like a 4-star service at Chelsea.
What you have to do is look at the amount of chances Chelsea create and the amount of chances Man City create. You know what I mean? That's simple.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think as well, for example, we had around him at City, De Bruyne, Foden, Grealish, Gundogan. These are players ready to set him up every single time, always looking for that run in behind, right? At Chelsea, the players around him, not only they're not on the same level, but I feel like he might need to take on a bit of a new different role at Chelsea than he was at City. I think they're gonna rely on him to create things more and be more of a central figure than he was at City. So I think there's going to be more of a burden on Sterling to do things off his own back, and I think he's capable of doing that. But I don't think he's capable of doing that to the level of a player that they think he is. For example, like if you're relying on Hazard to do things like when Hazard has like 2 or 3 players on him, and you're relying on him consistently to take on that level of players and get joy, I think you can rely on Hazard to do that consistently. Whereas Raheem Sterling, I don't think he has that level of ability where you can rely on him to come up with things on his own on a consistent basis to the level where Chelsea might be happy with him. He might be able to do it to a level which is decent, but whether it gets them to a stage where they're challenging for a league when they're relying on Sterling to do those things, I don't know. I think if you're relying on Sterling to be making runs and setting him up and stuff like that, then I think you're getting more joy like City were. But I think if you're relying on his individual quality to be the difference maker, I don't know if he's that level. It's a kind of different way of looking at him.
I agree with that, to be fair. But if we take a look at the 2 teams on the pitch now, see where the game can be won and lost. Looks like Spurs are playing with 1 extra player here.
Are we?
We've got Emerson Royale twice down there.
No, we don't.
No?
Where's
Emerson? 2 number 12s on the right.
Oh, yeah, he can... I don't know where that's come from. I missed that one. I don't know why he's there. I don't know to take him off. Wherever he's there, he's gone now. Yeah, I think tactically, obviously, so this is how we're envisaging both teams are going to shape up. I envisage here Kai Havertz obviously going to be playing kind of that false number 9 role for Chelsea. So it's going to be very interesting tactically to see how we deal with him.
I think it's frozen. It's not changing when you do anything on there.
1 sec.
Oh, it has now. It's changed now.
Okay, there it is. So here's Kai Havertz in this role. He's going to be an interesting one, Kai Havertz, because he's one who likes to play this false number 9 role. He likes to kind of drop deep in these areas. So so Spurs are going to have a decision to make, because it's whether if Eric Dyer follows him, if it follows him too deep, then it's going to leave space. This is going to leave the perfect opportunity for Sterling to be running into these channels. I'm not so worried about Mason Mount running in here, because I don't think he's the best runner in behind. I think he likes the ball to feet, Mason Mount, and in those kind of scenarios, I think Ben Davies and Sessegnon should be enough to deal with that kind of threat. But I am very worried about Dyer being drawn out and Raheem Sterling running into these kind of areas, because he's very good at running off the ball and he's so rapid that one quick ball in behind and all of a sudden he could be in on goal.
Isn't that where Højbjerg and Bentancur come into play, though? Correct.
But then that is true. So we're going to have to rely on Højbjerg and Bentancur to pick him up from those positions. But you don't want to leave this man with too much time, because he can really put it on a sixpence if given too much time on the ball. I really believe in Jorginho's passing ability. I think he's a really good passer of the ball.
Well, it's going to be a case of, with Højbjerg and Bentancur, one of them picks up the run of who's that in the middle, Havertz, and one of them picks up Jorginho as well. So, one drops, one goes, one drops, one goes.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Exactly. In terms of being on the ball, Conte, it might be a case of... look, it could be Kovacic, because obviously Kovacic didn't play first game, but he's, I think for me, he's probably their best centre mid right now in terms of form. But in terms of Conte, it might be a case of giving him time and space in these kind of areas in his own half, and not pressuring him too much, and making sure Jorginho is the one who's not having time and space, because he can really dictate the play. So if he's going to drop deep, we're going to have to make sure that if one of these players are going to go to him, that we're still going to have to make sure Jorginho isn't getting too much joy. But the problem is, if you're giving Conte too much space, he does have the ability to dribble forward. He's a very good dribbler when he gets going, and that could open up space, and then he can become a threat. So it's going to be an interesting tactical battle here. Obviously, the big worry for me is these fullback areas. When you see James, we're thinking James up against Sessegnon, Chilwell up against Emerson. Quality-wise, they do have the upper hand, I would say, when it comes to the wing backs. That's a bit of the worry when we get into these areas. So we could, I think Emerson and Sessegnon are going to have to really make sure, and Kulusevski and Son are really going to have to put in the hard yards to make sure that these guys, we're going to have to double up on them, because these are really big threats when it comes to going forward. I'm actually not too worried, apart from Sterling running in behind here. I'm not too worried with Sterling, Havertz and Mount having the ball in front of our back three, because I really believe that we can contain them. They're very containable when the ball's in front of them. The only worry is that ball to Sterling in behind here, in between these lines. For me, I think when we're going forward in these sort of areas, I think Koulibaly could be an area where we could get a lot of joy. If Chilwell was caught upfield, if we can get Emerson if we can get, because I do question how much Sterling's going to track back, because I think he's going to be forward a lot. So if Chilwell is caught out of position, or if Chilwell's tracking Emerson, if we can isolate Koulibaly, I actually think Kulusevski can get a lot of joy out of him, especially if we can pull Koulibaly out to these wide areas, because I don't think Koulibaly is that comfortable in these wide areas.
But it's all going to be about lulling them into a bit of a false sense of security, where staying in our shape, being ready to spring on them at all times. If you can draw Sterling out, if you can draw Koulibaly out, if you can draw Chilwell out, there's going to be a lot of space for us. And, like you say, if we can isolate Koulibaly against the Kulusevski, I think you're completely right. That's exactly where our joy is going to come from. And I think the same on the other side as well, to be fair.
And I think as well, with Kulusevski cutting inside, I think I've seen clips as well already circulated on social media of Kulusevski getting the better of Koulibaly back in Serie A a few times. I just think if we can draw him out to these areas, we need to make sure Emerson's high and Chilwell's tracking him. So that means that either we draw, if Kulusevski's hanging around these areas, either Koulibaly stays here and then all of a sudden Kulusevski has time and space, which we know he really likes, or we draw him out and then all of a sudden Kulusevski can take him on. And then either way, Kulusevski can be our main threat, in my opinion. Thiago Silva up against Kane. We know Kane likes to drop deep. And I think if Silva's going to track him, which I don't think he likes to do, I think he likes to be in this area where he's controlling things. If we're pushing Silva out, then obviously you got Son running into these areas up against Azpilicueta, and I really back him in a foot race against Azpilicueta right now, him and Son, if we can get him into these central areas here.
I do have a feeling though with that Thiago Silva, I think Tuchel will probably give him the instruction not to follow Kane too much and let Conte do that job.
Yeah. And that would probably be the way to go, because if Kante is patrolling here, I don't think Chelsea have to worry too much, unfortunately, about Bentancur and Højbjerg having too much time and space, because they're not the most creative. Their job is to get the ball very quickly to the wing-backs in space or to the front three. Their job isn't really to get forward and create too much. They do it occasionally, but that's not really their role. Yeah. So if Kante is dropping deep and patrolling Kane, making sure he doesn't get too much time and space, even though Bentancur and Højbjerg, it might leave Bentancur with a bit more time in these areas. That might make it a lot more difficult for us to really get joy in these central areas. So it's going to force us out wide, and it's going to leave a lot of pressure on Emerson and Sessegnon to be getting the better of their wing backs. So it's going to be an interesting tactical battle.
Yeah, definitely. And it always will be when it's Conte against Tuchel anyway. I mean, similar, but I mean, same, but different, isn't it, when it comes to the tactics that they deploy? And I think just Conte just deploys it so much better in such a much more structured system.
And I actually don't think, if this is the case, if their Conte is going to drop back, I actually don't think it's going to be Bentancur, the one who's going to be getting a lot of space. I actually think it's this guy, Romero. I think he's the one. If Sterling is not going to be tracking back as much as maybe, look, he might put all the defensive work in the world, and every time Romero goes forward, he might be following him. But if he doesn't, it could leave him with a lot of space here, Romero and Davis as well. If the same with Mason Mount, because these guys, Sterling and Mount. What I'm hoping, I think, and what Conte is hoping, is that Reece James is going to be looking at Son and trying to help out Azpilicueta, and that means that Sessegnon could get space. Now, if James doesn't help out with Son and he's tracking Sessegnon, then that's where Davis can come into play. If Mason Mount is maybe preoccupied with Sessegnon and James is going over to Son, Mount goes over to Sessegnon, this leaves free space for Davis to move forward into these areas. That's why the wide centre-backs are so crucial in Conte's system, because if Azpilicueta and James are patrolling Son, which you would expect, they don't want to leave Azpilicueta one-on-one with Son, right? They want cover for him, so Reece James is going to have to come over. So that means either Sessegnon is either getting a free run or Mount's tracking him. And if Mount's going to track him, there's Davis going to come in with the support, and maybe that can open up space. So I think in this it's going to be a very, very interesting tactical battle, because I think Azpilicueta is quite good at getting into these areas. I don't see Koulibaly doing that, especially because he's been used to working in a back four. I think he's very set at being that defensive first kind of centre back. I don't see Koulibaly. I'm not saying he's bad at playing out the back. I don't see him more than once or twice a game getting into these areas. Whereas Romero and Davis, they can get into those areas a lot in a game, and that could be the difference.
I mean, the only one that I can see foraying forward for them is Azpilicueta.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only one that really does, right?
Silva for sure.
Yeah, Silva will be our Dyer. It's the same kind of thing. Dyer won't be getting forward that much. But I still think Dyer gets forward a lot more than Silva, that's for sure.
So in an interesting way, as much as Koulibaly is a brilliant defender, And I think we are going to have difficulty getting past him because he's a big man mountain. He's a big defender.
How was he in the first game?
He played well. I think he did go off after 70 minutes or so. He played well. It was Everton, so it's like let's be honest, he had Demarai Gray to deal with. It's not like exactly.
Everton did beat Chelsea the back end of last season.
Yeah, well, Richarlison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they had no Calvert-Lewin in this game. What I'm saying is there wasn't the biggest test. They had Gray, like Decore. You know, these aren't the. It's not Kane, Son and Kulusevski, but he played well. I'm not going to take that away from him. But as much as he could be defensively one of their biggest strengths, I actually think tactically he could be one of their biggest weaknesses in a weird way. Koulibaly. I think that's a tactical battle for me to really look out for. I think him being pulled out to wide areas and him maybe not going forward could create a way which we could get the advantage if we can get Romero and Davis involved. I think that's a tactical advantage we can get use out of.
All right, well, we'll have to see how that one pans out. But let's go and have a look at Betmate now. Obviously, we brought you that we have got a season-long relationship with Betmate. Absolutely brilliant app where you can win quite a lot of money. And if you look at last week's winners, we did a league for Spurs against Southampton. And there you have it with, I think it was Ryan at the top winning £70. Unbelievable.
£200 pot.
Yeah, it was a £200 pot last
play.
week. But this week is a £1,000 pot. £5
£1,000 pot.
£1,000 pot this week. When you look at last week, I came fourth and you came fifth. There was only a half a point difference in there.
Unbelievable.
About a £10 difference as well. But this week it's a £1,000 pot, £5 to play. If you don't have an account, you can use our code and get £5 free. So you can actually get a free entry into this week's pot with, like I said, £1,000 up for grabs.
And it's such low stakes, you can use your football knowledge to win money. It's brilliant. It's like a fancy league for every single game. But if you pick the right team, you take home the cash. And I think it's good fun.
Exactly. And if you like a flutter, this is the best way to do it, in my opinion, because it's so much fun to play. And the scoring system is slightly different to what it is like on FPL. So it makes players like Højbjerg, Conte, the players that make interceptions and tackles, you get 1 point per interception and 1 point per tackle. So it actually raises the value of these kind of players. So you're not just focusing on attacking players, you're focusing on literally every player on the pitch.
And it brings your more knowledge of the players into play as well. So if you know this player makes a lot of tackles and interceptions, and other people don't know that gives you an advantage over other people. And if you can select them, and even though this guy might score 1 goal, if your guy makes 5 tackles and interceptions, you've got the better player and you're going to get more points. So look, and also last week it was £3 to play for a £200 pot. It's really low stakes, so it's not something that is gonna cost a lot of money. It's a little money to play, and you could win quite a bit if you pick the right team.
Exactly. This week, like I said, £5 to enter, and it's £1,000 worth of money to be won this weekend.
If you use our code, you can play for free.
Exactly. Use our code, which is in the description below.
It's on screen.
It's on screen as well. And also use the code in the description below to join the league. But let's look at our individual teams now. I think this first team, is it yours or mine?
That's my team. Yeah,
let's get into
Simeon,
it.
it's my team. So I've got Mendy in goal, Romero and Emerson at the back. We've got Bentancur captain. Kulusevski captain, and Kante in the middle with Kane and Son up front. I think no, you know what? I'm going to keep that captain with Kulusevski because he made a lot of tackles last game as well. I think my reasoning behind it is how the scoring works with the goalkeepers is every goal you concede is -1, but every save you make is +1. So for me, I think both teams are not going to keep a clean sheet, and I think Mendy is going to make more saves than Lloris. That's what I'm backing. So I'm going Mendy in goal. I think I had Romero and Emerson at the back. I think Emerson, up against Sterling, is going to have to make a lot of tackles, and he gets forward a lot, so maybe he can provide assists. I got him. Romero obviously likes to get involved in a duel or two, so that's why I've got him in midfield. Kulusevski makes a lot of tackles, and I think he could really get some joy up against Koulibaly, so I've got him as my midfielder. Kante is a tackling machine with tackles and interceptions in the centre, so I got to have him. And then I've got Kane and Son up front because I think they're going to really, I think for me, they're going to get more joy than Sterling or Havertz going forward. I think they're going to be able to trouble the Chelsea defence. So if anyone's going to score or assist, I'm backing those two to do it. So that's my reasoning for my team.
Well, let's get into my team. It's very similar, to be fair. I think there was only one player difference. I can't remember which player.
Azpilicueta for Emerson.
Oh, you had Emerson, yeah. So I've gone for Mendy in goal, pretty much the same reasoning as you. I think that both teams are probably going to score this game. But I'm just going on Mendy to make a few more saves in the game than Lloris. So that's why I've gone for Mendy. Cuti Romero, I think needs no explanation. He makes so many interceptions, so many tackles, and also he can pop up with an assist or a goal very easily the way he gets forward. So I'm going to go for Romero with Azpilicueta, and I think similar reasons for Romero as it is for Azpilicueta. He also makes a lot of interceptions and tackles for a game, and he's the most likely of the back three to get forward and provide something attacking wise. So I've gone for Azpilicueta. I've stuck with Dejan Kulusevski as my captain. He was my captain last week, and that provided me very well with him getting a goal and an assist and a couple of tackles and interceptions. So I've stuck with him. And N'Golo Kante as well. He's an absolute workhorse in the middle. He's buzzing like a bee everywhere and gets loads of tackles and interceptions and what have you. And then obviously Son and Kane up top, because I think they're most likely to provide for us attacking wise. So that is my team. You've seen Simeon's team, so if you want to join our league, do join. The league code is in the description below, and if you want to get a free £5, use the sign-up code WeAreTottenhamTV5, which is running along the bottom of your screen right now. So yeah, very fun to play, and get involved, guys. Get involved. Come and take us on and try and win some money this weekend.
£1,000 to be won this weekend. Get involved.
Exactly, a lot of money. So yeah, that is your match preview for Chelsea against Spurs at the Bridge this weekend. Very much looking forward to it. Me and Sim will be in the ground this weekend. I cannot wait. And you've got Danny Kiriakou and Marlon in the studio doing your watch along. So thank you everyone for joining us for that preview, and we'll see you very soon. But it is time to get guests on. So if you want to join, link is in the community section. We want to hear what you have to say on the big game this weekend. But before we do get into that, we've got a super chat from Dark Sunji 21, and he says, for once we have a better bench than the Blues. I can't think of any Blues players that can come on and change the game. Unlike us, we've got Perisic, Richarlison, Bissouma, Spence, Lucas, and also we have Kulu and Bentancur in the starting lineup. And yeah, we didn't actually mention Richarlison because he was suspended for the first game, and could provide massive option off the bench for us, Richarlison.
Yeah, definitely, especially if we need like another burst of energy for whatever reason. If things aren't working out with half an hour to go or so, then he's the perfect player to come on, especially with the way he approaches these derby games, his shithousery, I think the ability to take people on as well when we need to. I think it's all set up for a Richarlison debut, Chelsea away. It couldn't be a perfect kind of game for Richarlison to come in, could it? So I think that maybe it could be a fantastic debut for him. That could be very, very interesting if he comes on and makes a difference. But I agree, our bench is very strong at the moment with the players we have on the bench. But having said that, I do think Chelsea also still have a pretty good depth in their team.
Who have they got on the bench to come on?
Well, I was going to say Kovacic, but funnily enough, Kovacic, Tuchel has ruled him out for Sunday.
Oh, has he?
So Kovacic is not going to be taking any part in the game on Sunday. One sec. They obviously they had people like Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, but I think Odoi and Ziyech might be on their way out, from what I understand, from what I've been hearing. But Pulisic is a pretty good player to come off the bench, in my opinion. Who else they got in their team? I'm trying to Cucurella, obviously a very good player off the bench as well. He's obviously a new signing of £60 million for Cucurella. And then they've got Conor Gallagher, who's obviously had a brilliant season at Crystal Palace last season. He's a very good player. They got Broja up front as well, who had a pretty decent season at Southampton. So they've got some decent players there to come off the bench. I just think at the moment we're stronger.
Yeah, I do think that when you're looking at both benches, ours is superior, in my opinion. especially with the likes of Richarlison, Bissouma. They can really come on and change a game.
Imagine saying that last season.
Perisic as well. Yeah, I know. It's crazy to think about it. It's crazy, but the work that Tottenham Hotspur have done this summer, absolutely second to none. But I do think we've got some guests waiting to come on.
Is Thingy there? No, he's not.
He's not on just yet. We do have some Spurs and Chelsea fans to bring on today. But let's start off with our first guest, Ivan. Perisic,
Hey guys.
is that you?
Yep.
How you doing, Ivan? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I came on last weekend. We ended up winning 3-1, so I thought I'd come on again. Maybe we'll get the same result.
Absolutely. Keep coming on, because you're clearly a good luck charm. But how are you feeling coming into the game this weekend?
Definitely feeling a lot more confident. You know, given that Kane or Son didn't score last week is definitely very positive. It meant that other players in the team got confidence in scoring. Meant that the team doesn't have to rely on Kane or Son, which is definitely very well, especially with that first game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Spurs fans are very confident going into this game, aren't they? Do you think that confidence is justified, or do you think, Chelsea away, second game of the season, maybe we should calm down with any expectations of expecting to go there and winning?
I think we're catching Chelsea at the right time. I feel like the prerogative coming around where we're catching Chelsea early while they're still trying to get signings in, them being linked with Fofana and De Jong and Aubameyang, they're not really shows they're not really confident in the team that they've got right now, which means they're catching them at the right time. And it's really hard to say, but we should take a blueprint of the game in Orlando that Arsenal played against Chelsea, because the team that they put out in that first half is not quite different than the team that we will see on Sunday.
Yeah, looking at that team, though, I mean, they did play 4 at the back in that game, and I suspect it's going to be 3 at the back and, back to the usual Tuchel system.
Yep.
But if we do go there and win this weekend, how much of a statement is that for you?
That's a huge statement. It shows the rest of the league that we're here to actually fight for the title this year. Like, even if we don't get the title, it's a real statement to the rest of the league that home and away, you're not going to have an easy game against Tottenham. Like, even if we get a couple of draws, teams are going to fear having us on the schedule. Whereas last year when we had Nuno, they were like, oh yeah, it's Tottenham. Like, we're going to get a point or we're going to win this game.
Yeah, definitely. For you, where do you see this game being won and lost on the pitch on Sunday?
Honestly, I see it being won in the midfield. Conte and Jorginho versus Højbjerg and Bentancur is going to be huge because, whoever wins that midfield battle is going to win that game. And, given that Kovacic is out, which is one of their best midfielders at the moment, their informed midfielders, and given that he's not playing, and given how badly Chelsea played against Everton, who Everton are actually a shell of themselves from last year, shows how we actually have quite a leg up on Chelsea with this game compared to, I haven't felt this confident going into a Chelsea game since that 2017-2018 game that we won at the Bridge.
What do you think of the signings they made this summer? Are you worried about any of them?
Well, Koulibaly, I watched him last season at Napoli, and he's a great defender. Even though Kulusevski has gone ahead and beaten him a few times, he is a great defender. That's a great addition to their defense, and honestly quite a adept swap for Rudiger, because he is a great defender. Even though he's a bit older, he is definitely a great defender.
What about Raheem Sterling? Do you think he'll do well at Chelsea?
I think he'll do well at Chelsea, but they've got just a lot of wingers and no clear attacker. Somebody who's going to hold up that ball like Lukaku did last season against us. Somebody who they could just hoof the ball up to the striker who can hold up the play. Havertz is terrible. He's another Werner. I expect him to eventually go back to the German league because he's playing exactly like Werner is and hasn't really done anything for Chelsea since he's been there.
Yeah, I agree. Well, apart from scoring in the Champions League final, he's probably not. Yeah, hasn't done much apart from that. So in terms of the game on Sunday, then, what's your score prediction? What do you think the score will be?
I'm actually going for 3-1, like a repeat of the Southampton just a 3-1 victory is what I'm expecting.
Did you miss
and
Kulusevski? Did you miss Kulusevski's goal? He scored a fourth.
Oh yeah, 4-1. Yeah, let's say 3-1. I'm not gonna give Chelsea that much. Saying that they're that terrible that we're gonna win 4-1, but 3-1 victory with Richarlison coming on and scoring that third goal, getting that monkey off his back as well.
Yeah, that's going to be brilliant.
Big up, Ivan. And hopefully Ivan can come on and score a goal as well. So big up to you. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Big up. Come on.
Nice one.
A few super chats to get to. One from Quandre Jones, member for 19 months. Big up. He says, shout out to you lot from Detroit. Shout out straight back to you, my friend. Wolfsfire says Chelsea going down by flames on Sunday, 5-1 to Tottenham.
I hope he's right.
Can you imagine? Member for 9 months, by the way. So big up. Let's keep going with the guests. And just before we do, we've actually got 876 people watching with us at the moment. Only 157 likes. So do get down and smash that like button. And if you're new around here, smash that subscribe button as well, as we're going to move on to KPV.
Hello.
You all right, Carl? How's it going?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
You going to watch the game this weekend?
Of course I am. Why are you asking a question, man?
I don't know. You might have some more tickets to Steps or something.
Nah, mate. I've been there Saturday, but I blame you for making me sing Tragedy, you lazy bastard.
Why am I making you? You went to see them, not me.
Well, you sang that song before I went, so I blame you. And first of all, I don't know why, but then a couple of hours later, Monday, I went to a disco, and you know what song I listened to?
Tragedy.
No, Kulusevski's song. I listened
gimme.
You know that. And just a quick one, everyone's put him in the FPL team.
Yeah, have you got him in yours?
Of course I have, and yeah, but I've not captained him. I've captained Salah. I am, because I know it's Sunday, but I thought I captained Salah. But yeah, but I might change it before the deadline tomorrow. But you never know. I might change it later. Who knows? But you need to get him in your team, Ben. I'm serious, mate. Get him in.
Who, Kulu? Yeah, what, over Son?
Well, Son hasn't scored yet, but I took him out.
It's only been one game, Carl. It's only been one game. It's a bit harsh.
Oh well, but do you think Son's gonna do that goal like he done against him when we won 3-1 at Wembley, when he went past David Luiz and Jorginho? Do you think he can do that again?
Of course he can. Of course he can. He doesn't have Rudiger to get past as well.
Yeah, but Sunday the game, I'll be in a pub watching it.
How do you feel like the game's gonna go this weekend?
It will go our way. Let's be honest. I'm not worried about their new signings. I don't care. We're gonna win. I can't stand them. Those lot think they're better than us. Well, they weren't great at Everton, were they?
No, they weren't. They weren't. But they still got the job done, didn't they?
Yeah, but they only got lucky by penalty. So it's not gonna happen this time. I think we're gonna win 3-1, like we did when Conte was their manager. And yeah, so 3-1, Kulu double.
Kulu double.
I'm loving that. Who's going to get the other one?
Sonny. Come on.
Sonny. All right.
He loves the goal against Chelsea. I know Kane does, but if Sonny doesn't, then I have to go for Perisic, because he won the Champions League with Bayern Munich, because he's one to knock them out during the COVID season, but that was before it came. But why not Perisic or Romero or Dyer or Sessegnon again? Dyer, Sessegnon, who knows?
All right,
KPV.
I'm loving the confidence, and we'll see you again next time.
Yeah, and I'll see you Monday, and yeah, I will see you then. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on. There's been a thing from Miguel Delaney just now, and he says there is a belief within the Tottenham team that they are ready to take on Chelsea and take all 3 points this weekend.
Oh, I hope there is.
I mean, shouldn't that be belief every game?
Yeah, you know,
You know what I mean?
It's just high level sport. You don't come here if you not have the belief you can win. So I would hope there's belief.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But like, you could see last time when we played Chelsea 3 times in a week, there wasn't that belief from Conte or from the team. So maybe it is a signal of mentality changing within the team. And damn right with the summer we've had and the players that we brought in last January as well. So
there's no reason not to be confident going into this game. There's no reason.
Absolutely. Do we have anyone else? No. All right.
Well, Nini said
Is he on his way?
Yeah.
All right. We've got one more person coming on, so we'll just wait for them. And yeah, then we'll end the show. But I think Spurs fans have a right to be confident to come into this game this weekend. But we should also err on the side of caution as well, because, I mean, we've been here many times in terms of going to Stamford Bridge, like we brought up the form. And when we haven't scored against Chelsea the last 5 or 6 games, which is embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing.
We need to put that right. Chelsea, we've rolled over for Chelsea too often in the last 5 or 6 visits. So we haven't beaten them since beating them at Wembley.
Yeah.
And I don't think we might not even scored against them as well. We've had some real calamities. You've got to remember Trippier passing it into his own net against them.
Was that in the semi-final?
No, that was in a league game.
Was that a league game? Yeah.
We lost them in a semi-final. You remember Dyer giving that ridiculous penalty at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against them.
I mean, last season in those 3 games, we literally did not put up a fight.
Yeah.
Golini
was awful in that semi-final. Tanganga. So we've had some calamities, but now I feel like it's the first time I've faced him in a long time, top of our game, like looking to take full advantage of that, and that's what I'm hoping we can do on Sunday.
All right, and we do have a guest to bring on from the other side, from West London, wearing his blue lion on his chest from Blue Lions TV. Let's bring on Nini.
Give him a warm welcome. He's coming to the Lions Den.
Exactly, he's coming into the Chickens Den, more like. But Nini, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, man, I'm very good. Just trying to get through this ridiculous humidity and heat right now. It's a bit of a struggle at the moment.
You feeling the heat, are you? You feeling the heat?
Yeah, it feels like it, right? Getting ready for Sunday, to be fair. I'm coping quite well so far. I don't know how you guys are doing right now, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I came on your channel a couple of days back and I was talking about this is probably the most confident I've ever been with Spurs coming to the Bridge. How are you feeling coming into the game? Because obviously you've absolutely torn us apart pretty much the last 5 or 6 times we've played you. We haven't scored a goal against you. Do you feel like there could be a bit of difference this weekend?
Well, of course, naturally, Tottenham have improved under Conte. They understand his system more. And more specifically, Conte has got the right players he needs. I'm looking at Bentancur, Kulusevski, a few of these guys coming in as well. So I definitely think in terms of the 11 performance from you guys, it's definitely going to be a lot harder and more of a contest. But I think one thing that I've been seeing quite a lot in terms of maybe reports in the media, I think maybe a bit too many people are taking our performance against Everton too serious in the sense that most of our guys aren't fully fit like that. The wing backs and Reece and Ben weren't fully up to speed. There's been some poor preparation during pre-season, but you can't rule us out in big games. And that's how Tuchel's really made his name since he's taken over as our manager. In the big games where, you're playing against opposition that want to actually play football, not just sit back, keep their blocks low. That's when we really come to life. And that's when Tuchel's ideas and systems really start working. And I think that's why you won the Champions League, and that's why we compete against Liverpool last season and all these types of games. So I definitely think in terms of the challenge I'm expecting from Tottenham, I feel optimistic knowing the fact that, okay, Tottenham won't just be coming to the Bridge to sit back and defend. It's going to be a game of football. And I think this will be a big contest. And I feel, very optimistic, to be fair, and quite confident that we have the ability to raise our game against the big boys. And, I say out of respect, of course, now Tottenham under Conte and the players you guys have are a big team in this country. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and when it comes to Chelsea, a lot of people have been talking about how their summer and the direction of the club and all these kind of things. And there's a kind of almost a consensus that people think Chelsea might have a bit of a drop off this season and maybe won't improve. Having lost Lukaku, although you are now the highest spenders in this current summer window. How do you assess where Chelsea are headed at the moment? Are you think they're in a positive trajectory? Do you think, and what do you think you should be aiming for this season as a positive season as well?
I think bare minimum expectations of securing Champions League football. I think we'll probably do that. We've signed some incredible quality in Koulibaly and Raheem Sterling. I'm sure you guys are going to realise how good Koulibaly is when he comes. But in terms of that replacement for Rudiger, we haven't lost any quality. And maybe Koulibaly might be bringing a few more things that Rudiger can't. So time will tell as the season goes on. But, we haven't finished with our business in the window. And knowing the fact that there's still room left now to get upgrade signings, and the fact that we're trying to move players out, sell them, and really build that team in Tuchel's image. I think there's a lot of similarities between Conte and Tuchel right now. Maybe Conte has a few more options. I know you guys signed that Udogi guy from Udinese, very good, left wing back and with a lot of talent. And I think that's the same type of structures now we're trying to build for Thomas Tuchel, and we're not too far from doing that. I mean, Cucurella is an incredible option to have, and the fact that Ben's still not fully there, we have great competition now, and like a ready-made replacement for him is something that we couldn't do last season. So we have made some improvements. For us now, it's about it's about finding the time and finding the patience now for all these guys to gel together and play a few more games. So yeah, I do feel very optimistic for this season.
What is it about Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel? Because he come in and he won the Champions League in his first year. Last year, everyone was saying that Chelsea might be going and fighting for the title. Why are we not talking about Chelsea going and fighting for the league this year?
I think the reality is this, and it's the comparisons with Conte again. Certain managers ideally need to have a full squad in their image. I think the fact that the bar set by Liverpool and Man City, if you want to win the league, realistically, you might have to get 88 plus points, 90 plus points. It means that you have to be near perfect during an entire season. And every season in the Premier League, the quality does improve, it does increase, and it gets harder every single time. So until we can get the right type of squads, like a full 25-man squad in Tuchel's image, just like what Klopp has and Pep has, and what Conte, for example, is starting to get as well too. We have to be a bit more patient to expect that type of perfection to come. But under Tuchel, there's been many, many positives in terms of our big game performances. I mean, I'm going to use the comparisons of those games against Liverpool last season. There's not many teams in the country or in Europe that can really go toe-to-toe like that and have that ability to be very unlucky. Spurs as well, for sure. But not many teams have that type of ability to go toe-to-toe like that, especially after so many games against them. And the margins were so fine. In the end, penalty shootouts decided it. So, we can't be ruled out. Our players, I always feel like they get a bit maybe underrepresented. They're not as rated as much for some reason. But I do think that with the players we have, the manager we have, we always have a chance, basically.
Do you think you'll finish above Tottenham this season, if you're making an early prediction?
I do think so, because the thing that stops us from really mounting a title challenge is that our one weakness is we struggle against teams that sit back and park the bus. We haven't found the right solutions. When the game's a bit more open in the transition, we can pick off any team, as we've shown numerous times. But we need a few more players now to gel in the system to find those solutions against the bottom half teams, the mid-table teams that will play like that. And we can struggle to break them down because their game plan isn't really to come out to win the game. So I feel like with some of the players we've signed for this season, that should go a long way in helping us combat against teams like that. And if I see that done quite quickly, which I feel we are going to see, then I feel quite optimistic about what we can do. And I think everyone knows that CL is just bare minimum. It's not even a challenge to fight. This is the bare minimum the whole squad is setting for themselves. And I do think that we have the firepower and the manager to help us get there.
When you're looking at the two teams coming into the game, where do you think the game is going to be won and lost on the weekend?
Oh, I think it's going to be a bit harder, but I think definitely midfield will be the key battle. And I think in wing-backs, I think, of course, if whatever team loses that midfield battle, that means that the wing-backs will struggle to get further forwards. And with wing-back systems, once you like nullify the wing-backs and kind of reduce their effectiveness, you know, the midfield can struggle, and then you are getting picked up on the in the transition, on the counter-attack. So with guys like Kante being fully fit and some of the options we have in the team, as well as, you know, options in our wing-back positions too, and with our intensity with our press too, now that Sterling's come in and he's like a very intense style guy, a lot more than Lukaku, for example. Like, I'll give you guys a bit of insight. One of the reasons why our big game record wasn't quite the same, like against City and Co, was that Tuchel was trying to find tweaks now to try and get Lukaku working. But if you're a guy that's 6'3" with that type of frame like him, he's not there to press. He just, the physiology isn't there to do that. So that's gonna weaken us like as a team, like tactically. But now Tuchel has addressed the issues. He's moved those guys out, and we have a board now that really is backing and supporting him. Where, I mean, let's be serious. It's kind of crazy that we spent 100 million on someone like Lukaku, and already just like that, he's out the door. But that really tells you everything you need to know about the ambition being shown here, and that willingness to really back the manager. So, yeah, I feel quite optimistic, and I think that with the front three and that our midfield, and you know, I know that Kovacic might not be playing, but we have a lot of strong options in that team still. You know, I do think that at home, I know our record's quite sick against you guys. I think you beat us once in 37 games at the bridge.
Don't remind us, mate.
Yeah.
Don't remind us.
He had to slip that one in, didn't he? In
Me,
terms
I feel
of
like there's more like sorry about that. For me, I think there's more like mental pressure on you guys to be ready to actually challenge us. And of course, confident start against Southampton, but you got a real test now this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
you mentioned the front three there. If you could swap our front three for your front three, would you do it?
Oh, I mean, I think realistically, I mean, Son, amazing. Harry Kane, world class. I mean, I'm not going to be here and talk nonsense, top class players. But I will say one thing. Obviously, Conte was a manager, and how he gets your attack playing. You know, there's a lot of direct balls to your front three. You know, Conte's always like to get the ball as quick as possible to that front three. And I feel like that's why you guys are a lot more effective, and that creates a lot of opportunities, especially like when you get the front three on the ball and then the wing backs are supporting, making those overloads. I feel like we show similarities at times, and I think that because you guys will be a bit more open, I do feel confident that we can create opportunities and, you know, force your wing backs back. I think that's the key thing here, to force your wing backs back, to limit the options on the transition from you guys on the counter. And if we can do that, I feel like 1v1, our defenders are very strong, and we have lots of recovery pace now in this team to come back and deal with a lot of danger. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough game for both teams.
As a Chelsea fan who's had Conte as their manager before, are you worried about Conte at Spurs? Do you think we know he's going to turn us into something serious, or do you think it'll be over soon and you know, not too much to worry about?
Well, I think with Antonio Conte, really, it's as simple. If you fully back and support him, he knows exactly what he has to do to build the football team he needs to challenge and compete. I think Inter Milan was a prime example of what he was able to do with them. Us in our first season too. Second season, you know, wasn't fully supported. All the Van Dijks and Sanchez's and guys he wanted, we didn't sign for him, and instead we signed guys like Drinkwater instead. So yeah, it was crazy times back then.
And all those, man.
Yeah, absolute nonsensical signings that we paid the price for many seasons afterwards. So you know, I think we know exactly what to expect from Conte. You know, at the end of the day, even though you guys have like really top players now to kind of elevate like Conte's style and what he wants, you know, I think one weakness with Conte is the fact that I've always felt like his systems are very heavily focused on like automatisms in terms of like the same build up, the same plays. And if you can disrupt that, if you can realize what those patterns are and stop that, then his teams can be a bit one-dimensional afterwards, and they do struggle to find other solutions, you know, come back in the game and change the tides. It's very much about, okay, getting the first goal is a massive advantage. And the longer you guys struggle to get that first goal, the more you're going to open up basically and hopefully play into our hands. So, you know, for me, I'm just really excited by the strategic and tactical battle between Tuchel and Conte. You know, that's going to be a very crazy battle between both managers, and I think there'll be a lot to learn after the game, to be fair.
You talk about
we didn't get the first goal last week.
you talk,
Oh no,
you
you
talk-
guys came, yeah. But Southampton, though, that's the most Bundesliga team in the Premier League. I mean, anyone can get back against them.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. But you talk about Lukaku before, but what is it about Chelsea and the curse of the number 9? Because ever since Abramovich has come in, really, I mean, you've brought in a lot of number 9s, a lot of top quality number 9s. When I look back at Kesman, Shevchenko, Torres, Lukaku, you know, there have been so many of them. But why is there a bit of a curse with your number 9 shirt? Is he frozen?
Gone? No, he's still there.
Yeah, now you guys are back now.
Did you hear what I said? The question.
You were mentioning a point about cast for the number 9, and then it kind of cut off then.
Yes, I'm just saying with all these players that have come in since Roman maybe has taken over, maybe it goes before that, but you're talking about the Kesmans, the Shevchenkos, the Maratas, the Lukakus, you know. Why has there been this curse of number 9s at Chelsea?
I've got my own personal theory, and I think
Go
for
on.
me, sometimes I think football isn't that complicated. Number 9s are the icing on the cake for teams. They're supposed to complement however you play and what your strategy is. That's why Kane, for example, the fact that he drops deeper because he's a great playmaker as well too, he becomes super effective for you guys. And I just think that with us, there's been a lot of poor executive decisions made over the years, even more insight and details coming out behind how we even made that move for Lukaku to begin with. It's just like you can't sign certain players and then expect them to do other things. And like the first time I even noticed this for myself personally was when we signed Fernando Torres all those years back. And Torres is a guy that relies upon a lot of service as that focal point, and he runs him behind. So then you're coming to Chelsea Football Club, but you need your 4 to bring guys like the midfield into the game. It's kind of like you're wasting the talent of the player, and you'll never get the best out of him. And I feel like that has been the main issue. For me, I think it's more executive decisions being made at the top that, you know, creates a little waste, because I know how Lukaku plays. We've seen him for Belgium, Everton, as well as Inter Milan. And it's very simple. If you play them to their strengths, and if they complement how you play, you'll see what they can really do. So I think that's why we moved away now, actually, from, you know, moving off Lukaku to go for Raheem Sterling, who has been playing a lot as like a false 9. I actually think that suits what Tuchel wants a lot more in terms of the guys with their, like, you know, positional play. It's why Lukaku wanted to leave in the end, and I think that's why Tuchel was more than happy, because it's not like he went to the board last season and was like, okay, Lukaku is my number 1 guy, get him for me. He's presented with options, and we couldn't get Haaland, we couldn't get other guys, and you know what I mean. So I like to think now with like different owners and a new structure, we're going to be a lot more efficient in terms of how we spend our money. Because for me, I really look at like what Liverpool and Man City do in terms of their efficiency, in terms of the squad management, the building. And when they spend big money on a player, 95% of the time, that guy is here to improve the team and add and take them to another level. And that comes down from the unity of the structure, from the top to the management to everything. So understand this is how we play. This is our philosophy. And that's why Liverpool can spend 100 million on Nunes and he looks great for them. And he always was going to be great for them. You know what I mean? So I hope that we can kind of improve upon how we come to these final decisions. And if we do, like what I'm seeing so far in this window, which is very, very promising and exciting, then I think we should be okay in the future.
All right, big up, Nini. Before we let you go, what is the score prediction this weekend?
Oh, for me, I think there could be goals. I'm going for 3-2 to us.
Wow,
I like to see something
3-2.
entertaining. Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, big up. Thanks for coming on today. You can check out our preview on Blue Lions TV as well. And we'll see you hopefully. All right. That was Nini from Blue Lions TV. And we've got another guest to come on. We've got the Jorical. Let's bring him on. Jory, how's it going, brother?
It's
Loud and clear, mate. Loud and clear.
all right. Yeah. All right.
Lagging,
Good.
apparently.
I think there's a bit of a lag
no.
on the stream, but I think it's all right now.
okay now.
How are you feeling coming into this game?
So, you know, I'm feeling mixed emotions, I have to say, you know, because it's Chelsea. So there's the history. But yet again, as I've always tried to do since Conte came in, I tried to put behind us, you know, because it's a completely new club, really, in my view, and especially now after this preseason, we saw that against Southampton, we saw a crazy potent team, and it didn't even involve Son and Kane to the same degree that we're used to. Of course, they were making space for other players and all of that, but we weren't the normal reliance on these two guys wasn't in the last game. So, like, yeah, I feel good about it. But then again, it's Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, which I'm happy to say I will be joining you there for that, which
Come on.
I'm super excited about.
When do you arrive in
But
England?
yeah. So I'm gonna arrive Saturday morning, like 7 o'clock. My flight got a little bit delayed, but that's fine. It's okay. Just as long as I'm there for the game, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
all that
Hopefully it's
matters.
not
That all
delayed
that
too long.
matters. But yeah, we're
No,
looking forward to
exactly.
welcoming you with us to the game. You mentioned the
Yeah.
front three before and how happy you are that we can win like that when Kane and Son aren't really providing. Talk to me a bit about Kulusevski and how much he can bring to the team this weekend.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit pissed with him. I should have been falling all over him when I was working with him in Torino, right? I should have been like a complete fanboy, but I was kind of cool about it. Whereas Zlatan was stealing all my attention, really. But he was nice and all that. And like what the Swedes were telling me back then has certainly come true. They were all saying like, this guy is going to be something. He's a superstar in the making and all of that. And I was like, oh, all right, I'll take your word for it. And didn't you hear that a lot? People have their national biases and all of that. So but boy, man, it's like it's kind of like we see like when we're thinking about like Ndombele and maybe even Lo Celso and stuff like that, we kind of think like he might do good in the Spanish league. He might do like I think Ndombele could do really good in the Italian league actually. But here's the other way around. I think the lack of pressure and the lack of speed wasn't serving Kulusevski in Italy, whereas now he's come into this high intensity league. It's perfect for him, He's absolutely he's playing like he's a master of this league, and yeah, it's amazing to see. I genuinely believe that if he's going to be in our club and Conte is going to be here, Kulusevski is going to be at level with Kane and Son eventually in a couple of years. He will be absolutely top player, world class. Yeah.
Jory, I actually asked this question on a David Harris stream a couple of days ago, but do you think that Kulusevski has a higher ceiling than Heung-min Son?
That's saying something, that's for sure. I think he has a
when you
more.
look at Sonny when he was this age,
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty good.
I think
he was pretty good, but was he this good?
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, potentially you could say that. In terms of right now, I would say like what I think and or what I'm hoping or what my spider senses are telling me is like Kane will have his best season ever. I think Kane will get close to 30, to be honest. I think he will be like 27 or something like that this year in terms of goals. And to be sorry for me, Son is the best winger in the world. There's like what we saw towards the end of the season last season. That's the best winger in the world. I would put him above Salah right now because as good as Salah is, as amazing as Salah is, he has so much support in what he does, and his goals in terms of XG or in terms of where they're happening and stuff like that, they don't compare to what Sonny is doing. Sonny, on the other hand, maybe is possibly easier to mark out because of how our team has been, because there's so many other threats to be wary of in the Liverpool team. But now we are becoming that team exactly. I sent you guys a super chat where I was saying like, if this continues like the Southampton game, you'll see 2, 3, 4 games like that, and the not non-Son and Kane players will be scoring goals, and the teams will have to now go out to the flanks and stop the play there. They will have to, they can't just have the game plan of marking Sonny and Kane out anymore. They'll have to, which then translates into Sonny and Kane getting a lot of space and time all of a sudden, and we know what happens then. So
Exactly. Goals.
yeah, I think the recipe that we have now is perfect, and I'm not really surprised because it's Conte, but I'm surprised because it's Spurs, so that's
in terms of Chelsea on Sunday, a lot of people are more confident than usual going into this game at Stamford Bridge, so maybe we can actually go there and get something. Are you afraid? Who are you afraid of Chelsea in their lineup on Sunday, if anyone?
I mean, kind of the usual so clicks for him. He's really difficult player to deal with, and I think Sterling also can give Mount more options on the edge of the box, which he kind of seems to love, and the wing backs are super dangerous. So I mean, I see a lot of danger in Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea is. Even though I do think they're in trouble and all of that, it's still a top team in my mind, and they still have the culture of really fiercely fighting and competing in every moment, and so I think it's definitely going to be a tough match. I think. I don't know. I've not. I mean, I've been on such a crazy film shoot here in Saudi Arabia. I haven't had much time to even think about these things. But I would think that we might be playing like not a high line, but a mid line or something, simply to try and catch them out on the transition. But I don't know, But I ask you guys, how do you think Chelsea are going to come at us? What do you think their recipe will be?
I think obviously they're going to have that front three of Sterling, Havertz, and Mount. They get and then obviously backed up by the wing backs of Chilwell and Reece James. And I think the one thing that worries me is those wing backs. I think they could get the upper hand out wide. That's what I'm worried about. If Emerson and Sessegnon are not on top of their game, I think Chilwell and James are two good wing backs who could definitely get the better of them. Well, in terms of their front three, I'm not too worried about if they're going to play the game in front of us. I think Havertz, Mount, and Sterling are all pretty containable. I am a bit worried though is when if Havertz drops deep and Dyer follows him, then that space can open behind for Sterling. Sterling running in behind is something we don't want to face, and that's what I'm worried about a bit.
No. But that being said, like Sess, he steps up in those big games, and be like I told you so or anything like. But I think like Emerson struggled with. Well, no, but I think like Emerson struggled with finding his way as a wing back. He's been groomed his whole life to be a fullback, and watching him now, I feel like he understands the role and the play and so on. And him and Kula are clearly on the same wavelength when it comes to linking up, and. So like, because Emerson has skills, he has skills defensively, and he has on the ball skills. It's just the head wasn't quite in the right space in terms of the wing back system, So I think we're going to see Emerson blossom into a really fine wing back, and we talk about it always with Sess. We know Sess has it all. He just needs to stop worrying about his injuries. He needs to seize the moment, and when he does that, he's usually quite amazing, actually. So and like having Perisic there, like they've Conte see improvement after improvement from them. But that I'm saying that, but it's still like a clever team like Chelsea with a good manager can definitely give them trouble. They're still young guys learning. So yeah.
In your opinion, Jory, do we start with the same 11, or do we bring in the likes of Bissouma or Perisic on the weekend?
I think Conte will start with the same 11. I mean, like my only little gripe from the last game, and it's not really a gripe and it's not really a criticism, but we all know that Højbjerg's quality in terms of passes and stuff like that is very dependent on the time that he gets on the ball. Whereas I think Basuma is quality always. Like you can pressure him as you want, and he'll still kind of like Bentancur is on a good day. Bentancur is like that as well. But I still would want Højbjerg to start. I would want the same team to start, but like the worrying about exactly this scenario where they're going to pressure the wing backs, you would kind of feel maybe a little bit more secure if you saw a lineup with Perisic in there instead, you know. But I do think the right call is to start the same team. Yeah,
I agree. And just before we let you go, Jory, what is your score prediction?
So I'm gonna go for. So don't think it'll be a clean sheet, but I'm thinking we're gonna do 3-1.
3-1, love it.
3-1.
Absolutely love the confidence.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you this weekend as well. And thanks
Me
for coming
too,
on, my
guys.
friend.
Well, we will
I
see.
haven't
Yeah,
had
looking
any
forward.
alcohol in a month, guys. So you have to bear with me. You know, I haven't had a drop.
That will change. That will change. Don't you worry.
That will change for sure.
We're going to be carrying Jory home this weekend.
Yeah.
Big up,
We're
Jory.
going to end up back in Iceland.
If you don't mind, I'm heavy, but if you don't mind, it's a good safety to know that you guys can do that for me. Yeah.
No problem at all. Jory, thanks for coming on. We'll see you very soon, and we'll see you. Yeah.
See you,
Take care,
see you
guys.
Sunday.
Cheers, Jory.
And,
Super chat here from Faz Radfar saying, we lost these exact 3 fixtures last season. Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, thanks for reminding us, Faz. But we're here to change the form books this weekend.
Exactly.
And Pep Guardiola is clear of Sir Alex Ferguson. #facts. That's the guy's name. With the super chat says, Conte masterclass incoming on Sunday. And I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Happen.
But that...
Yeah.
Go on.
No, just a bit of injury news. Apparently Clement Longley is ruled out for Sunday.
Yeah, interesting comments actually from Conte in the press conference, and you'll have the press conference with you very soon on the channel, so check out for that. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.